Anyway. Oh, sorry, I was muted that entire time. My bad. Let's try that again. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. I hope you're well, and thanks a lot for coming along to this OET All-Star session today with me, Scott, and Swoosh English, OET All-Star and Premium Preparation Provider. I hope you're all doing incredibly well, and yeah, thanks a lot for coming along to this last session of 2023. With the OET All-Stars. I have the honor of taking this final session, and there's a good one coming up today. So before we get stuck into the session today, let us know, say hello in the chat box, wherever you're watching today, on the Swoosh English social media channels or on OET's YouTube channel. Please say hello and let us know where you're from and why you're watching today as well. As mentioned, my name's Scott. I'm the Managing Director and an OET teacher here at Swoosh English. We've been an OET premium preparation provider now for 5 years. Been about since 2013, helping candidates pass their English exams with speed, certainty, and ease. And it's an absolute pleasure having you guys here today. So thank you to those who have said hello. Hello, Alexia. Welcome to you. Good morning. Hello, Lakshmi, too. And hello, Rizvana, as well, for coming along today. And hello, Louisa, too. Thank you very much. And of course, everyone who is on the OET YouTube channel, I can't bring those comments up on the screen today, but I'm saying hello and watching your comments as they come in as well. Hello, Gina, as well. Another one has come through to say hello. And Raj as well. Fantastic, guys. So let's get stuck into the session today. We've got an absolute fantastic session coming up today on OET writing. We're going to go through a lot of things regarding OET writing, formulating a letter, formulating your grammar as well. So I'm very excited to get kind of stuck into the session today and give you guys some benefits going into the end of December / the start of January next year about your OET preparation. So here's what we're doing today, guys. It is a session on OET writing. We're going to look at examining and understanding the OET writing criteria. We're going to follow a step-by-step guide to help you master your OET letter writing. We're going to look at how you can structure an OET letter with some best practices, some things you should do, and some things you absolutely shouldn't do as well. Very important to address that latter part. And we're going to finally then identify some useful grammar that you should use in your letter, and then look at an often overlooked but simple technique to implement, and that is the importance of proofreading in your strategy. It's a very good way for you to avoid losing points unnecessarily when you're in the, I guess, the rush and the stress of getting your OET letter written in time. But proofreading is so important, and we're going to go through some tips for you to take away in that regard. Before we get stuck into the session, guys, of course, we do these sessions every month with OET, these free all-star sessions, but we also run free weekly live OET, FastPass, and other master classes. And guys, you are invited. These happen every Friday, 11 a.m. UK time, 11 a.m. UK time. And I'd love for you to register to come to these free sessions and get more tips and strategies on your OET preparation. So we'll go through a lot of different things, but we'll talk about various tips, strategies, and methods on each subtest. We'll talk about the do's and don'ts of OET preparation. We'll help you figure out what kind of OET preparation student you are, so you can formulate a plan and best practice for you on your OET preparation, plus lots more. Are you in? I'm sure you're loving the thought of another free session from us at Swoosh English. So it's really simple to join. First of all, click the link in the chat that's going to appear in a second. There'll be a link to join the free masterclass. And if you can't see that link or can't join that link for whatever reason, there is a QR code there on the screen. Get your phone out, scan that QR code, go to the page, and then register to attend the next free session, by the way, which is in 2 hours' time. So pretty much after this session, I'm hopping into another free class in 2 hours' time to do another free masterclass. So please come and join me. And yes, if you, well, obviously I'll bring up the information about this free session at the end of the class as well. But just to get you guys signed up, I think it would be super beneficial for you to join some more free OET masterclasses from us at Swoosh English. Anyway, let's get into the session at hand today. So guys, question for you. It is December. It's nearly Christmas and the New Year. I want to know, when do you plan to take your OET exam? Are you taking your exam this month? Are you taking your exam next month? Are you taking your exam in February? Are you taking it in March? Or have you not booked your exam yet? Please let me know in the chat box when you plan to take your exam so we can see exactly how you guys are getting on with your OET preparation. Okay, some comments are coming in. We got a few candidates that are taking their exam in a couple of weeks' time. We've got Miriam who said, I'm taking my exam in February. Fantastic. We've got some saying I'm taking my exam in February 2024 as well. Good. Give yourself as much time as you need for your OET exam preparation. That is my recommendation. Do you just wait for a few more comments? We've got Agata has said January 13th, Athira January 27th, Christian end of January. We got Uwam saying January 13th as well, which is good. Okay, so we all have a bit more time than I might have thought, because I thought some people might be trying to take it in December. There's not much time left in December. But yes, my rule of thumb is always only really book your exam when you are ready. So I know some candidates want to get their exams straight away, but for those who haven't booked, I recommend you only book your exam when you are ready to give yourself the highest chance of passing. Lakshmi has said March, and Gina has said February as well. Guys, thank you very much for that. We've got a couple of months to work on this. So once you've passed your OET, guys, what's your dream? What do you want to achieve once you've passed your OET exam? Why are you doing the OET, and why are you doing everything else that comes with doing the OET in terms of working and living abroad? Let us know in the chat box what your big goal and what your big aspiration is for taking the OET exam and passing it, and everything else that comes alongside. There's NMC, GMC registration if you're heading to the UK, as well as elsewhere in the world. I love this part of the class. I love hearing what works for people and why people are going through all these efforts and all this to pass their exam. So we got some candidates saying GMC registration, NMC registration. Miriam has said GMC registration. Fantastic, Miriam. How are you getting on with that process? How is your OET preparation coming along? And how is your dream of working in the UK as a registered doctor coming along as well? I love to know everyone's journeys. Uwam has also said GMC registration. Agata has said work in Australia as a pharmacist. Fantastic. Amma wants to come to the UK and work as a nurse, so she's going for NMC registration. Jomo has said, I want a better job. Lucky has said being an RN. And Balaka has said GMC registration as well. Fantastic, guys. Lovely. Lakshmi is coming to our channel and saying NMC registration. Fantastic, guys. So I'm going to go full screen for this quickly, but when you're going through this entire preparation journey, keep that big goal and keep that big aspiration at the forefront of your mind, because this is what you're here to do. And this is what you're going to achieve once you pass your OET, pass your OSCE, pass your PAB, pass your CBT, pass whatever other qualification and test you have to do. You will do it when there is a will and there is a way. You are all very capable of it. So keep that in mind. Fantastic, guys. Thank you. Now let's get stuck into the lesson. Now I know a bit more about you guys. Obviously, we're focusing on OET writing today, so I'm just going to preface this by asking you a question. There are 6 criteria for OET writing. Do you know what they are? So let us know in the chat box, guys. What are the 6 criteria for OET writing? I'm assessing your knowledge of the writing criteria, because this is one of the first things that you should learn. And that is, of course, knowing why you're writing, what you're writing for, what you have to achieve, and how you're going to get those essential points to get that letter grade that you need. So let us know in the chat box, guys. Start throwing out some writing criteria for me. Try and not Google it. I'm sure you all know it really, really well. But let us know in the chat box what the writing criteria are. Fantastic. We got some coming in bit by bit. Some people are even typing in all 6, which is absolutely amazing. Great. We seem to know our writing criteria very well. Good. Keep the comments coming in. Let's go through them all bit by bit. Thank you, Obi, for your contribution. Purpose, clarity, and consciousness. Okay, great. Let's go through them bit by bit. Fantastic, guys. So, as I said, it's really important that you know these criteria very well. The first one is purpose. Then we have content. Then we have conciseness and clarity, genre and style, organization and layout, and finally language. So these are the 6 different OET criteria that you need to score highly in to get your desired letter grade. What are these criteria? What do they mean? And roughly what do you have to produce to score highly in each one? Let's look now how to score highly in each of these assessment criteria. So first of all, purpose. Purpose is really important for OET writing because it actually creates the structure for everything else that you will be doing. And even though this criteria is worth less than the others, it's worth 3 versus the others being worth 7. As mentioned, if you don't get your purpose right, then the rest of your letter can fall apart. So purpose is your reason for writing, and you need to make this immediately clear in the first subsection. Why are you writing? What are you wanting to achieve? Who are you writing to? So consider all this information that the reader needs to know at the very beginning. You also need to expand upon your purpose later on in the letter to get that those essential 3 marks. But make sure that you know who you're writing to and what you're trying to achieve as the very first thing you should do in your OET writing. Then we have content, and content is your key information from the case notes that must be included. So in order to achieve your purpose, what information do you have to include in the case notes to give that essential information and that message across to the reader? You need to ensure that no important details are missing from the reader's point of view, and that information also must be accurate. So if you're getting anything inaccurate from the case notes and writing that down, that could cost you some marks. Then we have conciseness and clarity. Likewise, content is about getting the essential information in. Conciseness and clarity is about removing the irrelevant information. So the case notes will have a lot of information that you don't need, that you shouldn't include, and you need to know how to remove that from the process. You also need to ensure that you are summarizing that information well to obviously fit inside the recommended letter length and ensure that your writing is clear. And then, of course, it says there, present everything clearly in an easily read and digestible way. Then we have genre and style, which is the way that you write your letter. And like writing a real occupational letter in the real workplace, you have to use a clinical and a factual style. Okay, it's not an academic style. It's not an informal style. It's somewhere between, which is clinical and factual. So ensure that your technical language and abbreviations are appropriate for the reader, not too technical and not too informal at the same time. Once again, consider who you're writing to. If you are a GP writing to another GP, then you could probably start using that technical doctor language. But if you're writing to someone else, then make sure you remove that, okay? And of course, make sure that you're using polite language for requests. So you need to learn how to write politely in a clinical and factual way to not come across as too abrupt or too informal. Then we have organization and layout, which is basically, in essence, how you structure your letter. So you must structure your OET writing into different subsections. There's no set formula for how many subsections you should include, guys. It's all about learning on the fly and using best practices. So you must ensure the information is appropriate, logical, and clear too. Of course, the only real rule of thumb in this regard is, of course, making sure the first subsection is expressing your purpose. The rest can flow in a few different order styles that we'll talk about today in this class. And make sure, of course, that you clearly highlight any key information that you have when you are organizing and laying out your letter. It needs to make sense in terms of how you present that. Then finally, we have language, which is the everyday elements of English. It's your spelling, it's your punctuation, it's your vocabulary choices, your grammar variation, your sentence structure, making sure that they are, and the key word here, guys, is accurate. Accurate, okay? This OET is not about trying to show off your flair for really, really complex vocabulary or very, very complex grammar. If you can write that way that fits the tone of the letter and is also accurate, then be my guest. But from my experience and Swoosh English's experience, The more accurate you are will mean a little bit simpler than you would normally write. Don't make it any more complicated than it needs to be. Accuracy is much more important, and showing off that range too. Now, of course, you also need to ensure to score highly in language, that you are taking time at the end to check all of the above. Proofread, proofread, proofread. And we'll have a section on that at the very end for best proofreading practices. Okay, guys, hope that was helpful. Let me know in the chat box if you thought that rough breakdown and guide for the 6 different criterion was important. Let's now get into OET writing a step-by-step guide to show you some of the best practices for writing an OET letter. So we've taken the Gerald Baker case notes. As you can see, you've got a set of case notes here. You'll have obviously your instructions at the very, very top, including your reading and writing time. You then have the case notes with all of the various information here. And then finally, the writing task and what to write at the very end. So where do you start? You get these case notes on the day, your 5 minutes of reading time at the very beginning. What do? Well, we start with the case notes. Now, what is the first thing that you should do in the case notes? We'll have a look at the note section at the very top and have a look at the writing task as well. This is the information set. These are the information sections where we'll start to formulate what our purpose is for writing our letter. And as mentioned, getting your purpose correct is really the glue that's going to hold your entire letter together. You don't get your purpose right, your letter could fall apart. So when you find the notes section and the writing task section, there's 4 questions you should be asking yourself. And they are, who are you? So who are you in this case note? Okay. Who is the patient? Who are you writing to? And why are you writing? So guys, maybe take a note of these questions or take a note in your head. But when you're writing every single mock OET letter and then doing the real OET writing exam, think about these 4 questions. Who are you? Who is the patient? Who are you writing to? And why are you writing? Let's examine this bit by bit. Who are you? Well, in this note, you are the charge nurse. So your role in this is from a nursing perspective, which means you're probably quite hands-on with this patient, right? The second is the patient. Well, the patient is a man called Mr. Gerald Baker, who is 79 years old in the ward of the hospital. Why are you writing? Well, it says here in the writing task, you're writing a letter to Miss Samantha Bruin, senior nurse at Grey Walls Nursing Home. So who are you writing to is Miss Samantha Bruin. She's a senior nurse outside of the ward that you're talking about, outside of the hospital too. And then finally, why are you writing? Well, you're writing because you are essentially referring this patient on to another nursing home so that this patient can receive continued care. Okay, so we start to think about how we can formulate our purpose here. Now we have all the information that we need to write that introductory purpose paragraph. You're a charge nurse. You're talking about a 79-year-old patient called Mr. Gerald Baker. You're writing to the charge nurse at Grey Walls Nursing Home, and you're writing to refer this patient to another nursing home in order to give them continued care. Not another nursing home, a nursing home to give them continued care. So you're discharging this patient from the hospital, sending them to the nursing home. So now we kind of got our purpose structured. Now we can start to plan our letter out around that central purpose section. So just a few bits of advice in terms of how we can structure our letter. The first rule is that there is no set template for OET. I want to say that one more time, guys. There is no set template for writing an OET letter. And I know there's a lot of information out there about saying, take this template for OET writing. It's not going to work. It might work if you get lucky, but every OET letter is going to have a different structure. And there's different ways you can write your OET letter. But if you take a template that's not fitting the patient, the scenario, the discharge, and the information, you're not going to score highly in a few sections. So remember this, guys. You need to be able to structure your OET letter on the fly using best practices. Do not rely on a template. So Once you've got that into your minds, then you need to think about how you organize the information in the best way for your reader. So what are you trying to achieve for the reader, and what is the best way that I can help convey that purpose? How do I lay out my letter? So ensure you divide your information into clear subsections. And there's a few ways that we can do that, guys. You might decide to structure your letter first and foremost chronologically. So the oldest information to the first. So there might be a series of events that you want to convey. You start with the oldest and then you go back to the newest. You might even start with the newest, go back to the oldest. There's different methods and different reasons for doing these different styles. You also might want to write thematically as well. So you'll decide what is the most important information that the reader needs to know. I start with that and then taper down each subsection to the least important. Now, don't get me wrong. This information is all important, but we're still dividing it in terms of what's more important and what's less important. You should also consider the order of your sentences. Keep the important details at the start of your subsections. Think of them as mini topic sentences as a way, and make sure they're clearly highlighted. The best way to highlight a sentence is have it at the beginning of a section. So start each subsection with this method, with the most important information first, to make it more readable and to make it more understandable. So in terms of the Gerald Baker case notes, here is an example plan that we can take and we can present to the for this letter. And this is obviously what the sample letter has, as well as what great scoring grade letters have also done. So as mentioned, subsection 1 is the purpose, discharge of the patient after a hip replacement in the hospital into the care. We then have the discharge plan, which includes medication, dressing changes, current mobility, exercises, and OT. Walker, wedge pillow, toilet razor. So everything that we need to include surrounding the central topic of hip replacement. What will the charge nurse need to know to help this patient out in the care home following a hip replacement? Subsection 3 then focuses around the post-op state. So while subsection 2 talked about the discharge plan, subsection 3 is about the post-operative state. So controlled observations, red blood cell transfusion, HB stable, monitor for anemia as well. Subsection 4 then is about the theme of the clinical appointment, what's going to happen in the next appointment. So the removal of staples and then follow up the blood test. We then finally have subsection 5, which is the polite sign-off, thanking for the care and ensuring everything goes well at the very end. So here is an example of 5 short subsections. Purpose number 1, each of the other subsections have a very clear theme: discharge plan, post-op state, and the clinical appointment. And then we have the polite sign-off at the end. And of course, this isn't the only way this letter can be written, but it's a good way to write this letter. Keep in mind that we can't use this style, we can't use this format for every single OET letter. We need to be able to know and figure out in our reading time how to structure the OET letter for the case notes and purpose on hand. So now we've identified how to structure our letter. Step 4 then is how to write our letter. So I'm going to ask you a question now, guys, in terms of writing the letter. There are many ways that we can write a purpose paragraph. And as I mentioned, purpose is super important. I'm now going to present 3 different purpose paragraphs on this slide. And I want you to tell me which one do you think best expresses the purpose for this letter. Okay, so we have A, I'd like you to look after Baker, who had a total left hip replacement and needs your management and care. We have B, I am writing regarding Gerald Baker, who underwent a left total hip replacement and is being discharged from City Hospital back into your care today. C, Gerald Baker will be discharged today back into your care. So let us know in the chat box, guys, which of these purpose subsections do you think is the best? And obviously give us some information on why you think it's the best as well. So I'll give you a few seconds just to write down here A, B, or C, which you think is the best purpose sentence or sentences. and why? Okay, we got some comments coming in here. I'll give a few more seconds just to give us your answer in the chat box. Thank you very much for everyone going through. And don't be afraid to give your answer, guys. I see some people saying, I'm not sure. Just give your answer, give us your reason. And there's no right or wrong answers in terms of what we can learn from it. So don't be shy and throw your answers in, please, guys. Okay, good. We got lots of comments coming in. I'm happy to see that we have one majority right answer. Okay, well, we got one answer is being the most prevalent. So either everyone's very, very right or everyone's very, very wrong. But most people are saying B. I'm happy to say that B is the best purpose paragraph, and I'll go through the reasons for it now. So A, let's recite it again. I'd like you to look after Baker, who had a total left hip replacement and needs your management and care. The reason why this one isn't great is because it's too informal. I'd like you to look after Baker, a bit too informal. It also doesn't say the patient's first name. Who is Baker? His name is Gerald Baker. That's his complete name. Who had a total left hip replacement and needs your management and care. That section isn't too bad, but it's just a bit too informal and doesn't say the patient's first name. We'll then go on to C and why that's not a great one. Gerald Baker will be discharged today back into your care. Okay, well, we got his name right this time. We talked about discharge, but it doesn't mention where he is coming from and why he was there. So if I was reading this letter, I would think, okay, great. So how can I help this person? I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know where he's coming from. What other information do I need? And that's why B is the best example. I am writing regarding Gerald Baker, so it's a nice formal, clinical, and factual style. It mentions the patient's name. It talks about his left hip replacement, so we understand what the problem was. He's being discharged from City Hospital back into care today. Okay, we know where he's coming from and what we have to expect as well. So this is the kind of style and the kind of quality we're looking for when it comes to writing purpose. First of all, who are we writing to? What are we trying to achieve? And what information needs to be included? And of course, include the patient's name as well, their complete name. Okay, guys, so that's how we start off with a purpose-based paragraph. Of course, going into the other subsections of a letter does take a lot more time. I want to focus now on how we can perfect things from this lesson today. So let's look now at perfecting your grammar for OET writing. Okay, so grammar can be a very complex beast. I'm trying to simplify it today by looking at 3 different useful forms that you'll want to use in your letter. So passive voice, relative clauses, and connectors. We're going to look at these 3 different grammatical terms and how they can benefit and boost your OET writing score. So the passive voice, first and foremost, is used often in OET writing. We actually had it in that purpose-based paragraph. But it is used when the focus is on the action rather than the person doing the action. And this is often used in a clinical and factual style. So for example, we have follow-up tests will be concluded. So the action is the follow-up test. It comes to the start of the sentence, and then we use the passive voice will be conducted at the very end. Rather than saying I will conduct follow-up tests, it says follow-up tests will be conducted. Okay. Mr. Baker underwent general hip surgery, for example. Mr. Baker was recommended on 100 milligrams of aspirin daily as well. So shift the focus from the person to the action and put the action at the beginning of a sentence. Then we have the use of relative clauses. So we use relative clauses to provide additional information about the subject and allows us to create a very nicely formulated sentence. We can also combine 2 pieces of information into one sentence. So how do we write a sentence with a relative clause? Well, here's an example. I am writing regarding Gerald Baker, who underwent a total left hip replacement and is being discharged today. So the relative clause, central to the relative clause, is the relative pronoun, which is who. So we have sentence 1, I am writing regarding Gerald Baker, close sentence. He underwent a total left hip replacement and is being discharged today. So the usage of the pronoun who, it can be which, it can be when, it can be where as well. make sure that we include who as a relative clause in the middle to create a nice compound relative sentence. So think about your usage of relative clauses. Then finally, we have connectors. So we need to use connectors to join information together in a sentence and to ensure that it's not too short and that it's a little bit more complex. So for example, we got a few connectors here. In addition to his usual treatment for hypertension, he requires pain relief and daily dressing changes. He has an appointment to have his staples removed as well as a follow-up blood test. So learn your connectors, learn your sequencing devices. So in addition, contrast, order, learn them all. In addition, and as well as are only a few, learn how to use as many as you can effectively and put them into practice in your OET writing. We do have a grammar course here at Swoosh English that is designed to help you perfect your grammar with these 3 sections and more. Just wanted to let you know about that in terms of your OET preparation. Now, the final step is, of course, proofreading. Really important and often overlooked when it comes to OET writing, guys. So what I recommend everyone does before they even think about doing their OET test for real is I want you to get into the habit that you can write your OET letter and be happy with about 70–80% of the quality of it within 35 minutes. So I want you to be able to write your letter within 35 minutes. That gives you 5 minutes then at the end to check your letter. And you'll be checking the following. Is your spelling, is your punctuation, is your grammar accurate? You might have misspelt some words. You might have got punctuation wrong. You might have realized my grammar wasn't great there. I'll change that. That's going to get you marks that you otherwise wouldn't have got if you hadn't checked your letter in the language category, as well as some other categories which can benefit from that as well. You want to check, is your letter formatted correctly? Have you written in an appropriate style? Have you got a good letter heading? Have you signed off politely? Think of that. Is the purpose clear? So have you written clearly in terms of what the purpose information you have has been put down to? Revise that to ensure it is. Is the content accurate and relevant? Are all your requests clear and polite? And did you use an appropriate sign off at the end? So of course, it probably does go in this order, guys. You start off with your spelling, your punctuation, and your grammar. But if you do have more time, quickly check over everything else at the end, guys, because simply put, if we don't proofread, we're not going to score as highly as if we had proofread. I see that every day at Swoosh English from candidates who have got to the level where they're able to proofread their letter versus those who don't proofread their letter. It could be the difference between getting that score you need and that score that you don't need. So please, please, please take a note of these proofreading steps. And when you're doing your own OET letter corrections and your own OET letter practice, that you are gearing up to be able to proofread. Of course, if you do need the 40 to 45 minutes, however long in your mock practice, and you're not quite there at 35 minutes, then still proofread before you submit anything to any teacher to correct, because it gets you into the habit of doing these proofreading steps. But before you take your OET test for real, make sure you can do this 5-minute minimum proofreading within the letter time. So guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope that these tips and these strategies were useful today. Let us know in the chat box what you enjoyed the most. Let's now review this session with a few essential tips. Remember, you should be familiar with the OET assessment criteria like the back of your hand. Know exactly what the 6 writing criteria are and what you have to do to score as highly in each section. Keep that criteria in mind when you write your letter, especially that purpose section at the very beginning. Always leave time at the end to check your writing. I just said it's really important to ensure that you score highly and don't miss out on marks unnecessarily. Get plenty of practice writing letters and get experienced OET teacher feedback. Writing is the one section where I honestly think that not getting feedback is non-negotiable, because it is the one section that is technical and does require the most feedback. So please make sure that you are getting feedback in your OET letter corrections now, if not very, very soon. And of course, with that feedback, you'll know exactly what your areas of weakness are. You know then how to continue and how to make improvements. You then go through the learning cycle and improve your OET writing bit by bit, step by step, lesson by lesson, with without getting that feedback and without knowing your areas of weakness and without making those improvements, you might stay stuck and you'll never improve your score to where you want it to be. So that's my advice for everyone today. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this session today. If you have enjoyed the session today, then give us a like, give us a comment, give us something on our social media channels to say what you thought of the session today. And I'll take that feedback on board with my team. We're not quite finished yet, guys. There's something else I just want to mention before we finish the session today. And that, of course, is a reminder that we run free classes above and beyond these monthly all-star sessions, but we all run our own free FastPass masterclasses every Friday at 11 a.m. UK time. If you're wanting more information, more tips, more strategies, more information, I said information twice, about your OET exam, then come to our sessions every week. We also want to help you with the do's and don'ts of OET preparation. And we want to find out what kind of student you are to help you plot the ideal study plan and preparation for yourself, plus lots more. These sessions are over 60 minutes in length. There's lots of information that I want to give you in these sessions. And as a reminder, they are completely free. So if you are interested in joining our free masterclass, then simply click on the link that's appeared in the comments here on Facebook and YouTube. If you can't see that link for whatever reason, I'm not sure, then just make sure you scan that QR code there, guys. Scan that QR code. It'll take you to an opt-in page, and in that opt-in page, you will then be able to get signed up to the next masterclass and join our registration list. The final step I would have for everyone today, if they can't see the link, they can't scan the QR code, is to give our team an email here at inquiries@swooshenglish.com. So just simply take down a note of inquiries@swooshenglish.com, and the Swoosh English team will get you registered for that free class and also give you lots of other tips, advice, and freebies that you need for your OET preparation as well. So final call to action is, if you want to join our free OET masterclass, click on the link that's appeared in the chat box or in the comment thread on YouTube. Step 2 is to scan the QR code on your phone, input your details, and get signed up to our free class. Step 3 is to give our team an email at inquiries@swooshenglish.com, and we'll get you signed up to your free OET masterclass. And as a reminder, guys, the next class is in 1 hour and 20 minutes time. So I'll see you in that session if you have some time for the next one. But once you're signed up, you'll come to every class that we have every week. And we actually sometimes run more than one per week as well. So get signed up for our free classes and we'll see you in there. So guys, thank you so much once again for coming along to this session today. I hope that you enjoyed it and you're going away with lots of additional tips, information, and knowledge about your OET writing. I sincerely hope everyone has a great rest of December and that you go into the new year pumped about your OET preparation. You're ready to smash your OET exam, pass it when you're taking it in February, January, or March. And yeah, wishing everyone the best of luck with their OET preparation and their OET support. So once again, I'm Scott from Swoosh English. Thank you so much for coming along to the session today. Thank you so much for your kind words and comments about enjoying the session as well. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in the masterclass. Remember, if you're looking for more information about how to pass first time, then come and check us out at Swoosh English. We'd be happy to help you pass. A few comments just before we finish. Thank you, Athira. That is very, very nice of you to say some of this information. And thank you, Obi, as well, for saying that you enjoyed the session as well. So guys, thank you so much. Have a great one. Good luck with your OET preparation. You can do it. Take care and bye-bye.